During the late 90s and early 2000s, arguably the most intense rivalry in the Premier League era took place between Man United and Arsenal. From 96 until 2004, only these two titans became champions. United v Arsenal was more than a rivalry, it was Manchester versus London. Alex Ferguson v Arsene Wenger. And in the middle of the pitch and generally at the heart of all the chaos and drama was Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira. At the peak of their powers, these two became the Premier League's toughest captains. Two of arguably the greatest midfielders to grace the Premier League, Vieira and Keane, dominated the competition and quite simply defined this era. Put side by side, the question is, who was better? Starting with Roy Keane, his journey to the top at Manchester United was as hard as his career. From his early beginnings, it didn't even seem like he'd make it to be a pro. He loved football, but struggled to get into teams, and he even got dismissed from the island schoolboys for being too small. But his determination to make it as a footballer pushed him to writing to clubs to offer him a trial. And out of the 92 clubs he wrote to, only Nottingham Forest answered and accepted, and under Brian Clough, Keane became a machine. He became one of the best players at Forest, and it was here he developed as a box-to-box player, and truth be told, his technical abilities were on display too. Keane's impressive displays made him a major transfer target for clubs like Barcelona, Blackburn Rovers and Real Madrid, but ultimately his next destination was the Theatre of Dreams. Keane moved to Manchester United, and it was at the Red Devils he got into his peak form and had the best football of his career. We'll get to that in a minute, but now it's time to dive into his soon-to-be nemesis rise to fame, Frenchman Patrick Vieira. Unlike Roy Keane, Vieira's talent was spotted from the get-go. His athleticism and physicality made him stand out. Vieira's career kicked off when he and his family moved to France from Senegal at the age of 8 in search of a better life. Vieira decided to take football seriously at this point, and once he did, the makings of an incredible talent became evident for everyone to see. Vieira's journey started at AS Cannes. He made his debut for the club at just 17, but it's more than that. By the time he turned 19, Vieira was already showing the leadership qualities that would define his career. At 19, he was captain of AS Cannes. Vieira's qualities of being a progressive ball carrier with pace and agility were evident, and it was sooner rather than later that he'd start attracting the attention of big names in Europe. And at the age of just 20, he was on the books of arguably the best team on the continent at the time, AC Milan. The truth is though, Vieira struggled to get any game time in Milan. In a midfield that had fellow Frenchman Marcel Desailly, Vieira wasn't playing much. So in 1996, when another Frenchman, Arsene Wenger, spotted his talent and offered him a chance for regular first-team football, Vieira took it. This then led to a rivalry that would define the Premier League era. Vieira joined the Gunners in a deal for £3.5 million, which might not seem like much right now, but back then, this was a lot for a player who still only had potential and wasn't the real deal. Right, so we know how both players got to the Premier League. Keane's performances at Forest earned him a move to United, while Vieira's wish to get more playing time got him a chance to prove his worth at Arsenal. It's important to understand that Roy Keane joining Manchester United was to strengthen the squad, not necessarily because they needed to. To be fair, they did have players like Paul Ince in midfield and were the defending league champions when Keane arrived. But this takes nothing away from the fact that he was sensational from the start. And Paul Ince, well, he left, as did Mark Hughes. Then follow this up with the surprise retirement of Eric Cantona in '97, and Sir Alex Ferguson needed a new leader in the team. And well, he couldn't look any further than Keane himself. Now captain of Manchester United, Keane was at the peak of his powers in the team, but what exactly made him that good? He was a very underrated passer, had the vision to spot a teammate from deep and could go box to box on occasion, but above all, Keane's biggest strength was his determination. And in the words of Sir Alex Ferguson, Keane would rather die of exhaustion than lose. He always demanded 100% from himself and his teammates, and when it came to winning possession back with tackling, Keane was top tier. A hard man through and through. On the other side, Patrick Vieira's time at Arsenal was in the same vein as Roy Keane. Vieira arrived at Arsenal with something to prove. Back then, the Premier League wasn't flooded with international players like it is today. Only a handful of overseas talents were around. But in his debut season, Vieira was outstanding. And this, guys, is the first key difference between the two. Roy Keane joined Manchester United as part of an already successful and star-studded midfield. He was the finishing touch. But when Patrick Vieira signed for Arsenal, it was the club that needed him more than he needed them. Arsenal's midfield was in disarray, and Vieira quickly became central to turning things around. In his first season, he made 31 appearances and helped Arsenal secure a third-place finish. As the seasons progressed and each player just got better and better, all of this was building up to something special. However, soon after becoming Manchester United's captain, Keane tore an anterior cruciate ligament in the match against Leeds. We'll come back to this shortly, but by this point, Keane's tough, no-nonsense persona was fully established. Around the same time, Vieira had also earned a reputation as one of the Premier League's fiercest tacklers, setting the stage for an epic showdown. Now at the height of their powers, Keane and Vieira had become the defining figures of two generation-shaping teams. Roy Keane captained a Man United side that won the treble in '99, but simply stating that doesn't do justice to his impact. In the semi-final against Juventus, he delivered one of the greatest individual performances in football history. With United trailing 2-0 just 13 minutes into the match, Keane stepped up in a way few players ever do. He scored the goal that started the comeback and delivered a performance packed with everything: crunching tackles, pinpoint passes, and complete dominance over a midfield featuring legends like Zidane, Conte, and Deschamps. Remarkably, he did all of this after receiving a yellow card that meant he'd be suspended for the final. Yet he played as if nothing else mattered but getting his team there. Patrick Vieira's response with Arsenal was swift and emphatic. At this point, the Man United-Arsenal rivalry was in full swing. To give you an idea of how intense it was, between '96 and 2004, there were 9 Premier League titles up for grabs. United won 6 and Arsenal claimed the other 3. Considering that back in 1991, when United first won the league, Arsenal weren't even viewed as a serious contender. So this shift marked a huge moment in the club's history. And while Keane had his legendary treble-winning season in '99, for Vieira, nothing topped the year he captained Arsenal to an unbeaten Premier League campaign, true invincibility. In 2004, they finished the entire season, yes, unbeaten, and Vieira played a true captain's role. In both their primes, these two were colossal figures for their teams. They didn't shy away from controversy either. Remember that ACL injury Keane got in '97? Well, 4 years later, he executed revenge on the guy who injured him in the first place, Haaland's dad, Alfie. Keane was fined £150,000 and a 5-match ban as a result. For Patrick Vieira, his hard-hitting nature earned him multiple cards and suspensions. But it doesn't get any bigger than the match versus West Ham. Vieira's assault on Ruddock earned him a 6-match ban and a £45,000 fine. Ultimately, apart from being hard-hitting players on the field, these two were gifted professionals and leaders of their teams that shaped an era. Roy Keane wasn't the most graceful of players on the pitch, but what he lacked in that elegance and poise on the ball, he made up for with an insane work rate and the desire to always win. Patrick Vieira, though, was different. On the ball, those long legs and strides from midfield were capable of breaking any defence with splitting passes and lazy runs. He's the guy who gave the pass before the pass. Add to this excellent positioning and that intimidating frame in midfield, he looked imposing. On the international stage, this is where Vieira had the edge. Whilst Roy Keane struggled to make a lasting impact with Ireland, and who could forget his infamous fallout at the 2002 World Cup that saw him fly home, Vieira became both a World Cup winner and a European champion with his country. There are so many factors to consider when comparing two legends from the same era. Both Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane were leaders, warriors, and key figures in two of the most dominant teams English football has ever seen. Keane captained Manchester United to an incredible haul of silverware, 7 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups and the Champions League. He was the heartbeat of Sir Alex Ferguson's side, a relentless competitor who'd do whatever it took to win. On the other hand, Vieira was the engine of an Arsenal team that changed the game. He didn't just anchor the midfield, he transformed it. Arsenal simply weren't the same without him. His absence in 2003 was a crucial factor in United regaining their title that year, showing just how irreplaceable he was. But here's the thing, while their styles were different, their impact was equally massive. Keane was fire and grit, Vieira was power and elegance, and when they met on the pitch, it wasn't just a football match, it was a battle. So, who was better? Who was the greater captain? That's up to you to decide. One thing's for sure, football was lucky to have both. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more football stories.